Yes. All right. Welcome back. Here we are in Season 2. Welcome, programmers. Welcome, music lovers. Welcome to Coda. Eric's playing a new guitar this season. Okie doke. Here we are, streaming live from Boston, Massachusetts. Back again for another season. My name is Joseph Parzell. I'm your host. I am a software developer, and an app publisher. I guess one of the same. Graduate of Clemson University down in South Carolina. Go Tigers. And of course, with us on guitar this evening is our good friend Eric Gaudet, graduate of Boston Conservatory. Let's get to it. Here we go. Season 2. Here's our Season 2 abstract. Hope you are ready to create another Alexa skill here this season. We're actually going to be building on top of the skill we already started to create. So, we will be creating a game this season. We're going to try and create a game at least. And while we do that, we will be using C#, .NET Core, with Azure as our infrastructure. We will also be creating an Alexa skill via the Alexa Developer Console. And new for this season, we will be trying to work on this solution as a group. One thing I wanted to try and do this season was have our viewers submit code. So I've published the solution to GitHub for this season. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Here's our technical specification for today's episode 1 of Season 2. We'll do a quick introduction to Code and Coda, have a couple of current events. Pretty much haven't changed since last time, actually. We'll talk about joining the team. You can join the Code and Coda team. For this season, we will be using the team to collaborate and talk about the solution we're creating. I'm also hoping to help you out and get the solution open on your own machine here. Using Visual Studio Code, we will clone the solution from GitHub, create a separate branch, and then publish that code so you can see how you yourself can contribute to this project. Don't forget, YouTube chat is open. Please come on and say hi. If you have any questions while we go through today's content, please send me your questions. I'll do my best to answer during the episode. And also, I know there's a couple of you out there that probably have caught me once or twice where I might have made a mistake, so please help me, correct me when I'm wrong. Remember during last week's episode, I made a small error with the number of bits that were being used on the screen, so I'll go ahead and make that correction as we go through the 5-minute recap of the season finale. And don't forget, while we're just getting started here with this episode, go ahead and text your friends, tweet at your buddies, and email some people. Let them know that we are in Season 2 of Code and Coda. And of course, the best part of Code and Coda is our man Eric Gaudet. Let's take another quick look, see how Eric's doing. Sounding lovely. Thank you, Eric. So, if you haven't been with us before, why are we doing this? Great question. Well, besides the fact that Eric is an amazing guitarist, and who wouldn't want to come watch Eric jam out on the guitar for 45 minutes to an hour every Sunday night? But Code and Coda was originally inspired by my Teams Thursday presentation, which was how to create an Alexa skill that accesses your Microsoft Teams messages. So we finished up that season a couple of weeks ago. Starting here now with Season 2, something we never thought would happen. But here we are. Of course, it helps me along the way because I'm still learning. There's other people still learning out there, so come on and hang out with us on Sunday nights, and hopefully you'll learn a thing or two while we're here. At least you can hang out, say hi, and have another cup of coffee before the weekend is over. Of course, our favorite quote that best describes Code and Coda was delivered by my man Jim Wilcox. I didn't see him in the chat room yet tonight. Usually he's the first one in, but I bet he's in there now. I'll have to double check. A quick look at some current events coming up. Of course, we have Granite State Code Review Nightly every weeknight. And Granite State Code Camp saved the date for November 14th. The call for speakers will be coming real soon for that. I don't know if they've decided on a date, but I know that that is coming real soon, so hopefully I'll have you updated next week, or maybe somebody will update me in the YouTube chat. Of course, there is a baseball game going on right now, and it is Boston at New York again, just like 2 weeks ago. And the opposite of 2 weeks ago, we have a new moon this Tuesday at 10:41 p.m. I know there's a few people out there that probably are interested in the Boston, New York baseball score, so why don't we check in with our good friend Alexa. Don't forget, if you have an Alexa within earshot, press that nice mute button there. It will mute the microphone, and anytime I say the word Alexa, you won't have things added to your shopping list. Alexa, how are you today?
Did you ever try to write a poem and it turns out bad, but somehow that's good?
Yeah,
that's how I'm feeling.
We've been through that. I would wish they had one or two more responses. Alexa, what is the Red Sox score?
The Red Sox are trailing the Yankees 4-1 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Gary Sanchez is currently at bat.
Alright, there is your baseball update for the episode. You know that right about now is when we start our recap, so how about we ask Alexa to start a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll try to get through the season finale slides in 5 minutes. There are a lot, but if you missed the season finale, here's your chance to catch up. So here we go. Alexa, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Great. Well, don't forget we had pop quiz during the season finale. We had a few pop quizzes, and first question was, what day did Coda and Coda first go on the air? We have some prizes for the first and second place winners, which I still need to give them their prizes. That is Jim and Bob. We went through the introduction of Code and Coda, and we found out what it would be like without Eric playing in the background. It is not a lot of fun, so we want to keep Eric with us. Pop quiz winner for the first question was nobody. There's the poster for the first episode. We went through a season 1 recap. Where are people watching? Mostly Massachusetts and some other states thrown in there. Who did we miss? Well, we missed Maine. There are some people watching from Maine, so thank you for being with us. How are people watching? I hope you found your spot here in this chart. That was a lot of fun to make. We talked about what it means to be agile. Never use Wikipedia as your source. And we talked about how our schedule changed from 5 episodes to 8. That's what our season is like now, 8 episodes, just like this. We went to StreamYard only, and we talked about why it says episode 1000 for the season finale. Well, that's because we're using base 2 binary numbers for our season and our episode numbers. For our season numbers, we're using base 16, which is hex, and we showed some examples of what these numbers look like. I'm gonna back up one slide here so I can make my correction. Last time I said that this was 16 and 32 bits. Well, that was a mistake. This is 32 bits and 64 bits that represent those two very large numbers here. The largest number that we went through, though, was 10 to the 100, which is a Google. And what a episode or a season number would look like if we went to season number Google, and there's your episode number. That's what it would look like. Made a little joke there and realized that Marie was the winner of our pop quiz here. She knows that Google noun is spelled Googol. And after that, we did another pop quiz. Which episode was the longest and how long was it? Jim ended up getting that one. While Jim was looking up the videos on YouTube, I was going through some of this code here, which was the get teams intent. Once we ran the get teams intent, we see that we had gotten a list of teams back, but it wasn't nicely formatted, so we went in there and started formatting the data. Unfortunately, we can't order by display name, so we created our own sort of sort functionality. There you can see what the list looked like before we sorted it, and after we sorted it with the prefix team number. There you can see the output of the code sent to the speak message. And here is the YouTube where you can subscribe to Metro Share Solutions. You can see all the videos online, and the winner was Jim, who got that answer correct. The next question was, which band t-shirts have been worn during the show? That day we were wearing Nirvana and Chili Peppers, which is the answer that Bob submitted. Here we are going through the Alexa skill to create a new intent called get messages, because now we don't want to just get the teams, we want to get messages, and so we created an intent with some utterances there. Once that intent is called, you can see the get messages intent is called. Oh, there's our answer for the band t-shirts that were worn. Britney Spears would have also been an acceptable answer. And like I mentioned, that was Bob that won that. So, one last look at our code from Season 1. We wanted to return some messages, so here are the URL endpoints, Microsoft Graph that we use. Edited the switch statement, added a get teams function, basically copied added a get messages function, basically copied the get teams function. We're using a beta function here now though, and here are the scopes that are available, which had changed during the season. Those scopes are not admin required. We added a button to our get page so that we could call the new intent get messages locally and run it and debug it on our local host. Once we started debugging it, we saw that we were getting 9 messages back from the Code and Coda team. that's what a message looks like. One last time I went in, created a new message, and you can see my message here. Alexa, stop timer. Thank you for watching Season 1 of Coda, which is in the body object of our message here. That was the end of Season 1, and that is also the end of our recap, so before we start the next part here, why don't we take a quick peek and see Eric start up a new song. Sounds great. Cheers to my fellow coffee drinkers out there. I need to buy a new mug. Hey look, it's the poster for Season 2. Not much is different. I will admit, I honestly didn't really know which direction I was headed with for Season 2 up until this week and even today. But the goal for this season is to create a solution that we can all work on. And so I published the solution into GitHub, and I've also created a team for us to use for collaboration purposes. You may have noticed there's a link on the Coda website. What I'm hoping to do is have you join the team. Even if you're not going to write any code, you can still join the team if you've never used Microsoft Teams before. This would be a good opportunity to see what it's like. Now, I haven't tested this process yet, but what I'm going to do is hopefully have some people go to codeandcoda.com, click on the Join the Code and Coda Team button, and let me know if you have any problems joining the team. You should be able to join the team. We'll go through the step-by-step process now. Shouldn't need any special access for that team. Now, as I mentioned, I put this solution into GitHub. So what that means is hopefully we'll find a way for us to all collaborate and build on the solution. And once a week, every Sunday, I'll put everything back into the master branch and do a master build. What this also means is if you like to watch Code and Coda but still have some creative spirit left in you at the end of the weekend, feel free to jump in on this code and write some lines of code during the show. Why not? keep in touch with some of the latest updates that we're making to the code during Granite State Code Review Nightly, of course. It's always a lot of fun hanging out with that group. Like I said, here we go. This is the Code and Coda website today. If you click on that Join Code and Coda Team button, you should be able to join the team. The next screen, it'll ask you to type in your email address. I don't think you need to use a business address for this. You can use your own personal address, and what I tried to do was I used my personal Gmail account, and rather than typing in a password, you can see here it says email code to joeparzell@gmail.com. Please don't spam my Gmail account, by the way. But if you choose to go this route, you should be able to log in with a personal account without doing much work other than copying a code from your inbox to the login screen. Once you do that, it's going to ask you to consent. Not much to consent to here, basically just to sign you in, read your name, email address, and photo. That's just the basic minimum that Teams, the app, needs to add you to the team. Once you have been successfully added to the team, this is what you should see. Here is the Code and Coda Season 2 team. Now I have made one post since I created the team, which is a link to the GitHub project. So I'm going to go ahead and check in on YouTube chat. If you'd like to take a minute to try and join the team, I'll go ahead and switch back over to Eric for a minute here. And take a few seconds, see if you can click on that button. Feel free to try and join the team. Let me know if you have any questions. And then we'll go ahead and get started with the next part of our episode, which will be to clone the solution from GitHub. I mean, I really don't want to take them off the screen. Just, wow. Shredding like a madman tonight, Eric. Here we go, starting the next part here. Hope you are enjoying this episode of Code and Coda so far. Mostly, I mean, I hope you're enjoying the music. Here's what we'll be doing next. If you want to participate and contribute to this solution, you can. You can use Visual Studio Code. You can clone our solution from GitHub. And you can create your own branch, so you don't have to worry about breaking anything. You can experiment. And if you've never used C#, don't worry, because we'll be here every week working on the solution. And if you have any questions or need help, of course, come to Granite State Code Review Nightly. Okay, let's check it out. What are we doing first? We'll take a look here. This is the solution in GitHub. Usually, you don't like to identify things by their URL so much, just because it's typically hard to remember. But in this case, you usually do share a URL when you are using GitHub. That's because you can just copy and paste the URL into your IDE, your development environment. That's what we'll be doing here in a couple minutes. And what have I published to GitHub? Well, in the Metro Share Solutions repository, there is a Code and Coda project that has all of the files that I worked on in Season 1, which basically is our Alexa skill. It's a C#.NET Core project. It has all of the C# that we wrote, and it also has the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And how do you get access to that project from GitHub? Well, if you don't have Visual Studio Code yet, you can of course download Visual Studio Code. That's what I had to do today. I use Visual Studio 2019 on a daily basis. I don't typically use code, but I know there are some people out there that do, so I thought, hey, why don't I go ahead and throw it on my machine and see if I can run this process using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Once you've downloaded and installed Visual Studio Code, you'll get this welcome screen once you open it up for the first time. Typically, I'll click on that little checkbox here that says Show Welcome Page on Startup. Usually, I like to start with a blank canvas or an empty screen, just a little bit less distracting. Once you remove the Welcome tab, you can see the left-hand navigation here. It's something to get used to, for sure. But if you're used to seeing these icons, you'll know that the third icon down there, which is the circles and then the straight line and the line off to the side. So that is a source control icon. When you click on that icon, you come to realize that you are required to install one more thing along with Visual Studio Code. Basically, we're going to install Git. So by clicking on the Install Git link from right here, you're taken to a web browser where you now install Git SCM. And that's just kind of a plugin for Visual Studio Code, and I do believe it works with other IDEs. I'm not 100% positive. I do know that when I installed it, it asked me if I wanted to include the tools for Explorer windows. So it does put a few things on your PC. Make sure you go through all of the installation details and customize it as you need it. There's the button you click to get this product for Windows. Finally, it starts downloading and you install it. As I mentioned, there are lots of options for installing Git, so you will need to spend just a couple minutes installing that product. And once you have Git installed, you'll need to close and reopen Visual Studio Code. When you do that, you'll see that clicking on the source control button now has a different experience. Git is now installed, so you have the option to clone a repository. When you click on that clone repository button, you'll see at the top it asks you to provide a URL. So the URL that we will be putting into this box here is the URL you saw earlier. It is the github.com URL /MetroShareSolutions/code and Coda. So simply copy and paste that URL into that box, and it will ask you where you want to save the clone of the solution. So of course you save it to your local hard drive somewhere. Once you save it to your local hard drive, you get one piece of toast here on the window that says, "Would you like to open the cloned repository?" Well, yes, thank you for asking. So go ahead and click on that open button. And almost like magic, you're now looking at all of the code that I wrote for Season 1 of Code and Coda. You can see, if you navigate through the solution, all of the C# files that I was working on, the home controller, and the 2 model files that I created. Under the Views folder, you'll see the index HTML file. That's the get page for our solution. One folder I did not expand is the www root folder. That's where you will find the CSS and JavaScript files and some image files. But now that you have this solution cloned to your machine, you can start working on the code yourself and making changes. Now, one thing I noticed in Visual Studio Code, after I opened this cloned solution, I got another piece of toast that said, "Hey, the C# extension is recommended for this file type." Now, I don't know what this extension is going to do. I didn't install it. It looks like it was created, or is, owned by Microsoft, perhaps created by this company called OmniSharp. So if you'd like to read the details on that extension for Visual Studio Code, I'm sure it would help you with the project along the way. I'm going to go ahead and go through the process of making a change to the code and then publishing that change to GitHub. You can see here we are on line 76. Of our home controller C# file. And on line 76 is where we are setting the variable called speak. Now, before I make any changes, the first thing I'm going to do, down here at the bottom, you'll see some source control information, notably the word master. That's because right now we are modifying the master branch of the solution. If you're not familiar with GitHub, just give it a little bit of time. It takes some getting used to, but every GitHub solution has a master branch. That's the branch that I will control. If you would like to contribute to the project, however, I suggest you create your own branch. So you click on the word master, and at the top, you will see some options come up. I clicked on Create New Branch. And I gave it a name. And you can see now in the bottom left, I have a new branch called Joe's Branch. Pretty easy to do here. And that's great because now, since I have my own branch, I can make some code changes without affecting other developers that might be working on the project. So you can see on line 76, I've added the text, Joe was here, right after hello world. So the text, Joe was here, was not here 2 seconds ago, but I've added that text now that I've created my own branch. What happens when you make changes to your branch? Well, you can see here there's a star now next to Joe's branch. There's also another icon there that says, which is a cloud with an up arrow, that's basically meaning publish to the cloud. When I hover over that cloud icon, you can see it says publish changes, so that's what I'm going to do. Since this is the first time I'm publishing my changes, it asks me if I would like to run this fetch on a regular basis, periodically, and I said yes. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be doing, but I'm thinking that it will retrieve the latest code from the solution periodically so that I'm not missing any changes that have been submitted to the master. But I'm not 100% on that one. Once I publish my changes, there is one last thing we need to do here, and that is, you'll notice on the source control button there is a number 1 in a blue circle. That's kind of just your alert that says, hey, you have one change that needs to be committed. So you've published your change, now you need to commit that change to the project. You're going to click on that check mark to commit your change. It asks you one quick question. Would you like to automatically stage your changes? I said always. I'm not entirely sure what all of this stuff is doing, and I suppose you'll just have to use this product once or twice before you get used to it. But hey, we're all working together here, so if you have any questions, definitely let me know, or collaborate through the Coda team. In order to commit your branch, you need to submit comments along with your submission This is so that other people know why you're submitting this code. So I just type in the message, Joe was here, update, to speak text. And it's probably not the best grammar there, huh? But just to show you an example, I submitted that message with my code change, and after clicking on submit, now in my source control button area, I have no more changes that need to be made. In order to get these changes synced with the server, there is one last step. There's always one more step, isn't there? So we have published our code. We've committed to that code and we've said, yes, we've published it and we're committing ourselves to that code, so we add it to our branch, but now we need to sync the branch with the cloud. So there is one more button you click here. Notice that the little cloud has turned into a refresh button, and when you hover over that, it says synchronize changes. Another quick question. Push and pull all commits to the branch. I say, okay, don't show that again. And you'll see at the bottom there's no star, nothing left to push. You know that everything has been submitted. And so there is one last step now that you, the developer, have committed your changes and synced with the cloud. Now, as the master developer, I must create a pull request to get your changes and add them to the master. We'll do that, and we'll wrap up this episode here in just 1 minute. You know, it took me a while to get used to using GitHub. And I never quite liked the terminology of a pull request, but once I rephrased it, it made a little bit more sense. But when you need to send data from a branch to the master, you don't send it from the branch to the master, you pull it from the master. Or excuse me, yes, pull it from the branch. And see, now I'm just even confusing myself. You don't push from the branch to the master, you pull the branch from the master. You're gonna have to replay this episode a couple times to try and understand what I just said. But hey, you're not here for GitHub, you're here to watch Eric probably, which is all good. But since we're talking about GitHub, let's look at just a few more slides here before we go for the evening. Here is the GitHub project. One more time, you can see published to github.com/metrosharesolutions/code and Coda. When I drill down into this solution, you can see our folders like the controllers, models, views, all of those folders that you recognize from the solution in Visual Studio. When I drill down into the controllers folder, I see that there's a homecontroller.cs file. But when I edit that file and scroll down to line 76 where I made my change is still not here in the code. Now, as a developer with my own branch, I've published changes, I've committed the code, and then I've synced the code with the server. But as the master developer, I need to accept those changes by creating a pull request and pull those changes from the branch to the master. Much clearer that time, I think. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and create a pull request here in GitHub. I'm just going to click on this button here called Pull Requests. You can see that I get a little message up here that says Joe's branch had recent pushes 1 minute ago. So if I scroll over to the right here, I can see I have the option to compare the changes with the master branch, or just go ahead and accept those changes with a new pull request. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept those changes. I click on Create New Pull Request, and some details come up. You can see that since it was a simple change, we are able to merge these two branches, the master branch and Joe's branch, the custom branch. So when I finally click on Create Pull Request, I get one more confirmation message. Which is to merge the two branches together. As I merge, I can see what was changed in homecontroller.cs. You can see that the speak variable was changed from just saying hello world to saying hello world, Joe is here. Alrighty, let's go ahead and approve those changes. No big deal. Merge that pull request. One more button to click. As always, confirm that merge. And you can see my description of the merge of the commit. There's the description of my commit from earlier. Joe is here, update to speak text. It is now nicely displayed at the top of the screen since we just confirmed our merge. GitHub is so boring, isn't it? That's right. You'll get used to it. You gotta learn it, and it makes things great when you need to work on a project with other people. So hopefully I'll get a few of y'all to join me on this project here. Clone this solution and start a branch of your own. Just another view of GitHub here. Once I go back into my homecontroller.cs, now I can see the change has been merged and Joe was here is now in the code. The cool part is as the master developer, now that you've submitted your change, you've published your change, you've committed the change, and you've synced the change to the cloud, I've created a pull request, pulled your changes into the master branch, and made those changes, merged those changes. Well, if I, the master developer, now want to go back and get those changes into my project on my own computer, I will open Visual Studio 2019, click on the Team Explorer tab in Visual Studio, and then click on the Sync button. And you can see here on line 76, the code has not been synced yet. But after I click on that Sync button, one more button. After clicking on sync, you will click on sync again. And yes, finally, success. I have synced the changes that you have made in a custom branch, merged those changes into the master branch, and then sync them back down into my project on my computer. You can see here now line 76 has the change. And that is the process that we will be using as a group to collaboratively work on this solution. I hope you definitely join us and submit your code changes to this project. We'll continue with Season 2 next week. Season 2, Episode 2. We will start building. And yes, we are building a game. We need to make this a little bit more interesting, don't we? So let's build a game for Alexa. We'll start by building a game menu, basically the flow from start to finish for the game. We'll start our web application, of course, which we have already started. It's in GitHub. Now we just need to connect it to a web application in Azure. We'll go through that process again next week. And then, of course, how are we going to save the data that we are using for our game? Well, we need to decide on a database system or what we're going to do for that. So, between now and next time, if you can join us for Granite State Code Review Nightly, please do. Don't forget, next episode, 1 week from today, August 23rd. This is Code and Coda, streaming live from Boston, Massachusetts. Thanks for coming to Season 2. Here's the Coda. Thank you, Eric.